I was asked to speak about Shabbos, or Shabbat, or the Sabbath. I say Shabbos, that's where I come from, that's how we always say it. And when you're getting into it, now I should give you a little background. I grew up in North Merrick, Long Island. I don't know if anyone's here from Long Island. Yeah, excellent. So I'm from North Merrick, Long Island. And I was a nice suburban kid growing up in a family where we sort of did Friday night, we had challah and wine and, my father made kiddush, that kind of thing. And then we watched TV. And, and Saturday my parents went to work. And, when I started to keep Shabbos, for me, it was a very personal thing because I was alone. I met the other two Jews in North Merrick, and we would sometimes get together and do things. But for the most part, it was a very lonely Shabbos. It was a very lonely Shabbos. And when I came to Israel, and I'm here now 26 years, the experience is completely different. You'll see that when candlelighting time comes, they blow a siren. Don't get nervous. They always blow a siren, and that's really reminiscent of the fact, if you look out over there on the wall, you'll see a little outcropping. There used to be a giant staircase going up to the Temple Mount. And when I say giant, what I mean is when you go to the Kotel, when you're standing at the Kotel, you're in midair. There's as much underneath the ground as there is above. So you used to go all the way down, and there was this giant staircase that went up, and there was a place, so they found the sign from the Second Temple period where it says, the place of the blowing, where they would blow the horn, on Erev Shabbos to tell people Shabbos was coming in. Today they put off a siren, and people hear that, and I can't tell you the experience. Now, okay, I came here the first time in Israel in 1969, which according to my revised biography was 10 years before I was born. I figure if Superman can have a reboot, so can I. But, but I came the first time, and it was just, a nice kid from Long Island, and suddenly you see Shabbos in the streets, which is not something that I saw growing up. I remember when I came back to Queens after we'd been living here, I went to spend Shabbat with my in-laws after I'd been living here a few years, and I saw a city bus going by. I hear the city buses don't ride, and I was like, whoa, that's not supposed to happen. And my father-in-law said, welcome back to reality. And I thought to myself, I wonder which one is the reality. I know which is the reality. Here they used to blow the horn, and everybody would put down things, and you'd go into Shabbat, and there was something very special. So for me, every Shabbat that comes around for me is a very, very special experience, I've done Shabbatonim and programs all around the world. And I remember once I was in London. I was sitting at a table with a group of young people, young, attractive people who could not understand why I was there. And they were all having a wonderful time, and I was sitting there by myself, which has happened to me a lot growing up also. And I was sitting there, and so I sang my Zmirot, like I always do, to myself. And I closed my eyes, and I just concentrated on the words, and when I opened my eyes, everybody was looking at me. And I said, was it that bad? And they said, no, there was something so beautiful about it. What is that? Okay, so I'm used to making Shabbos by myself. I've had to do that for many, many years when I was growing up. So if I'm someplace where I'm alone, I was supposed to do a Shabbaton. Anyone from California? Los Angeles? Excellent. So I was supposed to do a Shabbaton. Is this the English-speaking group, for crying out loud? What are you people? Anyway, my gosh. Anyway, everyone can't be from New Jersey. But anyway, so I was on my way up from Los Angeles to the Big Bear Mountains, and I was the third car after the landslide, and we couldn't get up. Now, the place, we weren't sure about the kashrut, so we would bring our, some of our own food along, and that was it. The road was closed. You could go down the mountain and go all the way around, come the other way. It takes 6 hours. The problem is that would already be Shabbat, and we don't drive that, So we turn around and we start rushing back to Los Angeles. But if you've ever sat in traffic on a Friday anywhere in the world, particularly in Los Angeles, you're not rushing anywhere. And we're slowly going, and now we're in the plains, we're down from the mountains, and you can see the sun setting in the distance, which is often a beautiful sight if it's not Friday and you're in a car, on the highway. So what are we going to do, So we got off in a town called Ontario, California. If you have the opportunity to miss it, take advantage of that, because this is a miserable place to be. We pull into some trucker's motel we run out to the local supermarket. What do you find, of course? A box of matzahs and Manischewitz wine, every place in the world, We bring it back. Whatever food we had, we bought ice. We put it in the bathtub. The cleaning people were a little surprised. But okay, we had filled it up with ice. We had our food there. And I was with this other couple, and I was single at the time. I went to my room, and I said, I can't believe it. This is going to be my Shabbos. And I said the prayers to myself and got dressed, knocked on the adjoining door. And when I came in, so the wife had put down little napkins on the little hotel desk, and she had lit her candles, and she had everything all set up. And I said, my gosh, it's Shabbos in Ontario, California, in a truck motel. There's a certain power of it that takes place all of the time. Now, I say, I have to put this into a context. Yeah? There are people who have been Shabbos observant their whole life or for many years. And they say to me, I do it because I do it. I do it because I do it. I don't get anything out of it. This one girl who is in university told me, she says, I don't get anything out of Shabbos. I said, well, describe the Shabbos to me. He goes, well, I'm up on a high floor, so I don't want to have to climb down the steps. So I dive into my room, I eat a quick meal, and I sleep the entire day until the end of Shabbos. I said, wow, that's exciting. How spiritual is a coma? You know what I mean? And if that's the best that your experience is, of course you're not going to get it. So for those of you who are aware, there is beautiful music playing in the room right now. Anyone hear the music? No, Baruch Hashem. That means that very few of you are using mind-enhancing chemicals. Good. But sometimes people are like, yeah, I hear the music. I was like, okay, we'll talk to you later. But most people, okay, Baruch Hashem, they don't hear the music. But there's beautiful music playing in the room right now, right? There are radio waves passing through, playing beautiful music and hip-hop, whatever the case happens to be. And it's all passing through. There's even a disco station, yeah? It's all passing through. But you don't hear it. Why? Because you don't have a radio. So you get a radio, and you plug it in. So I still don't hear it. You have to turn it on. So, okay, I turn it on. I hear static. Okay, so you got to tune it. Oh, I tune it. And then I leave the room. Well, you're not going to hear the music. You have to listen. And sometimes you need a course in, music appreciation if you want to really appreciate it, I had a friend of mine who was practicing the trumpet. We used to put him in the bomb shelter and lock the door until he finished, and he was practicing the trumpet. It was a lot of fun, And whenever a tape would come on, he would identify, and you hear that, you hear there's a French horn, you hear this, and he could identify all of the instruments in the music. Everybody else was just listening to music. He heard nuance. He heard unbelievable things. So Shabbos comes around, and there are people who keep it all the time, and they don't really get what's going on. They're doing it. I have to tell you, at the beginning, if people want to keep Shabbos, the traditional way, it's a lot of focus on laws. Let's face it. People go to people's houses who are Shabbos observant. I've heard this more than once. They go to the bathroom. They don't know if they're allowed to flush the toilet. Yes, by the way, in case you come to me. But I don't want to put up a sign. Yes, absolutely. But people don't know what they're doing, and they spend a lot of time focusing on what do you do. By the time they're done, they're left with a bunch of laws. Why do I do this? Why do I do that? So, with the time that we have, I want to try to address this because this is the most fundamental question. Yeah, I had the opportunity to speak to students all around the world. And when I asked them, what was there about your Jewish education, if you had any, that you found frustrating, the answer is always the same. It's so irrelevant to my life. Yeah? You can go to a Seder where they're telling over old jokes and stories from 50 years ago. They're giving you over a message of something that happened 3,300 years ago. It's got nothing to do with my life. When I teach Talmud to students, I hear this all the time. Rabbi, I don't have an ox, and I don't plan on buying one. You understand? I don't run through the street with pictures. Why am I learning this? And we read stories, and we hear events from 3,000 years ago and commentary from 2,000 years ago. Why am I learning this? What does this have to do with my life? Isn't it ironic? We learn about Hanukkah as little kids. The brave Jews who fought against the Greeks and chased them out of the land of Israel because they were trying to bring us culture and science and sports and theater, and we killed them so we could play dreidel. You know what I mean? And when you're a little kid, it's cute, but then it's like, my gosh, you go to university, you study Greek literature and Greek theater and Greek philosophy, and you're like, what was it? We wanted to kill these people for what? You know, so we can eat food cooked in oil? That's why Jews look the way they do, by the way. Yeah? We want to show we're not going to look like Greeks. You know, lots of oil. But, you know, what's it about? And we learn things as little children, and then when you grow up, it doesn't make any sense. So at the end of the day, you can sit down and learn all of the laws. And you can do this, and you can't do that, and you're supposed to do this, and you're supposed to do that. But at the end of the day, it's not going to have any meaning unless we understand what's going on. And so I want to try to, if nothing else, at the end of the day, we have to look at it and say, there's a relevant message that speaks to me in 2014. I go into Shabbat, there's got to be something in it for me. Yeah? I ask people, and it's a very hard question, why should you be a Jew? Why should you be a Jew? You know? So people say, I was born Jewish. Okay? So if you were born Christian, I'd be Christian. You were born Muslim, I'd be Muslim. So the only reason you're Jewish is because of a freak of birth, and if you were born something else, you'd be something else. Yeah. Not because you really want to be a Jew. I was talking once to a couple about to get intermarried, and they said, but don't worry, we're going to bring the children up Jewish. I said, why? I said, if you were not Jewish, would you convert to Judaism? They say, no. I said, then why would your kids? They have a choice. If you have a choice and you wouldn't do it, why would you expect your kids to? Because I was born that way? Okay, not everybody has the advantage of a Jewish education. I talked to people who've had a Jewish education. I said, why do we have to do this? They said, because otherwise God will burn you in hell. Now there's a positive thought, you know what I mean? It's certainly warm. God will burn you in hell. I was talking to a guy once. I said, what happens when you die? He said, you go to heaven. I said, what's that like? He goes, it's a beach and a cold beer, and he continues to develop the picture. I'm sure you can work it out for yourself, you know. I said, is that what heaven is? He goes, no, I wish. I said, so what is it really? He says, you sit on a cloud and you play a harp. I said, do you like harp music? He says, not particularly. I said, so what are you going to do? He says, I'll get an electric harp, you know. Put my halo on sideways. No, 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 no. Right? Okay, rocking on cloud 9. I said, okay, if you're good, you get a cloud and a harp, and if you're bad, God burns you in hell forever. I said, that makes sense to you? He says, yeah, that's what I always heard. I said, it doesn't make any sense. That's like a father tells his daughter, sweetheart, clean up your room and I'll buy you a new outfit and take you out for dinner. If you don't, I'll break your arm and beat you till you're bloody. I said, what would you do? He says, I call social services. The man is insane. I said, but that's how you picture God. If you're good, you get a cloud and a harp, and if you're bad, you'll burn in hell? I don't know how many of you had this joyful experience. My parents went to synagogue 3 days a year, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We used to go. And I was a kid. I had to listen to a chazan, you know, and he'd be up chanting, and I would be eating my arm off, trying to find any excuse to get out. My father would send someone to find me and bring me back. You know? And I figured I was a kid. I figured basically if you could stay in synagogue on Yom Kippur and listen to the cantor, God felt so bad for you, he forgave all your sins. You know what I mean? You don't have to go to hell, you've already been there. So that's what I thought. But then you start reading the prayers, and it gets much worse. Who will live and who will die? Now there's a subtle message there. And I don't know if you picked it up. I, of course, did. The cantor, of course, was saying, who's going to live, but you're going to die. And the choir goes, die, 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 die. And we're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die? But it's not over yet. Now you get to pick the way you're going to go. Who by fire and who by water? Oh, that's a tough one. You know, fire's kind of hot. I could probably tread water for a while, you know. Who by sword and who by storm? Oh, I saw The Wizard of Oz. That's not so bad, you know. Who by earthquake and who by pestilence? I don't know, what is pestilence? Never heard of anyone die. We'll take the pestilence, Bob, you know. But the message is this like really heavy, negative message. And that's if you're a committed Jew. If you're not a committed Jew, then you don't even know you're going to burn in hell. Otherwise, you know. So therefore, it's unbelievable. They do a Jewish survey every 10 years. What's the fastest growing group in the Jewish people? It's not Reform, and it's not Conservative, and it's not Orthodox, and it's not New Age, and it's not Reconstructionist. The fastest growing group in the Jewish people is disaffiliated. Every 10 years when they check, more and more Jews are dropping out. They're not going anywhere. They didn't convert to anything. They just write down, I'm not a Jew anymore. I'm not having fun. This isn't working for me. You know? So if these are the two best answers, and by the way, they are the two best answers. There were worse answers, if you want to hear them, that I've heard organizations use. We've been around for so long. I'm sorry, was there some ancient people contest I entered that I wasn't aware of? I imagine we won by now. Who are we still running against, you know? Jews have made wonderful contributions to society. So did the Etruscans. Then they made room for the Romans. So let's make ourselves a dinner, give ourselves an award, and step aside. Yeah? We have to preserve Jewish culture. Why? Because otherwise it'll die. Why? Because nobody likes it. That's why. You see Italians raising money to get people to eat lasagna? No, people like lasagna. But you got to pay people to eat gefilte fish because otherwise they wonder what is the goo in the jar. But if you pay people money, we can pull together people and play klezmer and dance the hora and eat gefilte fish. And I say, if nobody likes it, let it die. What are we working so hard to preserve? So those are the best answers that we're left with is because, well, you'll burn in hell. But, you know, that's not going to work anymore. Tell a kid today, Mom, Dad, why should I be a Jew? He says, well, you were born Jewish. So what? I'm the first smart Jew in 3,300 years. I figured out I don't have to do it. Yeah, but then you'll burn in hell. I don't believe in hell. Then you'll really burn in hell. I'll take my chances. And that's it. Meaning that on the most fundamental question, why should I do this? And whether we're talking about Shabbat, or we're talking about kosher, or we're talking about learning Torah, or we're talking about marrying Jewish, or going to synagogue, or coming to Israel, or anything, every Jew is going to ask the same question. Why am I doing this? I'm going to share with you an insight. And I'm quoting from a book called Mesilas Yesharim, which was written in the 1700s. That's because I give an ongoing class in it, and the classes are available for download from my website, RabbiOrlofsky.com. This is actually just an infomercial. Anyway, so order before midnight. Anyway, so it's a book that teaches you how to become perfect. I finished it a number of times. Got stuck on humility, but after that, the rest was easy. Anyway, so I want to give you the first two lines. That's it. And start you off. Because everything has to, at the end, answer this question. He says the following: the root and foundation of all religion, of all Judaism, of everything is that it has to be clear to the point of truth, why are you alive? Such a simple question, so hard to answer. If you don't believe me, try people. Why are you alive? I was talking to a group of guys in their 20s about marriage. And I said, you know, when you get married, you have to make sure you have the same goals in life. Anybody know what their goals in life are? So this guy raised his hand. I do. So what's your goal in life? I'm going to be a dentist. I said, that's not your goal in life. He said, sure it is. I said, no, it's not. He said, I'll prove it to you. I said, go ahead. I said, you're 80, 90, 100 years old. You're on your deathbed. They're writing your eulogy. You get to listen in. He was a dentist. He filled many cavities. He removed many impacted teeth. He says, stop. I said, no, I'm getting to the best part. Your tombstone is a big tooth. And it says, here lies a dentist. So he says, no, you misunderstood. I said, yeah? He said, I didn't mean that's my goal in life. That's how I'm going to earn a living. Oh, what's your goal in life? I have no idea. Whenever anyone asked me, I said, I'm going to be a dentist. And everyone said, good for you, because that's the dream. Go to university, get a profession, get married, buy a house, have kids, happy life. Now you're 45 and you have all that. What do you do now? Get old and die. We have nothing else for you. Some people figured out they can play twice. They divorce their spouse, they get another one, they buy another house, they get another job, they go around the board 2 times. And I'm like, you can fit in 2 lives, you know? But most people just have a midlife crisis. You've seen these people? At the karaoke machines? Barely alive, barely alive. They buy themselves a sports car, but they're not so flexible, they can't really get in, you know? Open up a couple of buttons, little gray grizzly chest hair, you know? After a while, they give it up, start wearing their pants up to here, get the orthopedic sneakers, take 2 minutes to sit down, and fall asleep all the time. In the middle of a conversation, talking to someone, whatever they're doing, they always fall asleep, and they always deny it. No, I wasn't asleep. No. I wish I could sleep. I'm up the whole night. Always, and that's it. You're just sleeping till death, and then they'll, you know, that's it. Then they'll sleep longer. Yeah, but that's about it. They're done. What are you doing in this world? Why are you alive? That's the question. And here's his answer. And he says this has always been the Jewish answer, and this is the only thing that Judaism has to offer. And again, if you like gefilte fish, and you like listening to chazanis, please don't let me take that away from you. Yeah? It's playing with dreidel, eating oil, whatever the case happens to be. Yeah, okay. This is what he says. You know why we're here? To get pleasure from God and enjoy the divine spirit, because the light of the divine spirit, because that's the greatest pleasure that there is. I read this to a group of students once. I said, what did he say? Why are we here? He said, to serve God. Nope, try again. To get pleasure from God and enjoy the divine light, because that's the greatest pleasure that there is. Why are we alive? To get the divine light. Wrong. I'm pretty sure I heard divine light. Right, now listen to the whole sentence. It's taxing, yeah? To get pleasure from God and enjoy the divine light, because that's the greatest pleasure that there is. Or if you will, we were created for X, because that's the greatest pleasure. But if it's Y or Z, that's why we're here. Because ultimately, God doesn't need anything. He's infinite. Don't worry about him. He put us in this world for one reason, for you to get the greatest pleasure. And the world is filled with pleasures, and you're going to have to choose, and it's so hard. Take something simple for a non-Jew and so difficult for a Jew, a buffet. Just try it. Look at your hotel. Non-Jews don't get the concept. They just go over and take a plate and sit down. And a Jew looks at the buffet and says, I could eat all that food. I just physically can't, so I have to eat the most of the most expensive stuff. So they plan it out like a military campaign. No Jew walks over and takes a plate of food. They go like this. And they walk around, tasting here, sniffing here, and they start collecting plates, you know what I mean? And they start to grow like the Incredible Hulk, until they can't eat anymore. But even then, you can't eat it all, so you're going to have to make choices. That's easy. But you want to travel the world? I meet people who travel the world. They stop in Israel sometimes, and they come to my house for a Shabbat. They travel the world. They just love to travel. So they'll never know what it's like to be part of a community. Maybe that's better, but they don't know. You have to make a choice. You want to go from relationship to relationship like a lot of people do, you'll never know what it's like to be married for 50 years. Maybe it's better, but you'll never know. You're going to have to make a choice. And most people don't make choices. Most people don't live the life they want. They live the life that happens. You can check it out and see if it's wrong. Ask most people, is this the life that you wanted? A guy in his 50s once said to me, I don't know what a meaningful life is, but this isn't it. I said, so why'd you live this life? I don't know. I just made one choice and another choice and another choice, and I ended up someplace. I never thought where I want to go at the end of my life. You plan your life to about 40, and then you don't know what's going to happen. But how about planning your life till 90? Listen, the way science is going, unless you get hit by a truck, God forbid, you're going to all live to about 100. When I was growing up, a guy who was 70 was an old man with a cane. Today, you see people in their 80s running around, and it's not unusual to meet people in their 90s. You guys live to 100, there's no question. So the major majority of your life is still ahead of you. Are you going to let it just happen? That's what most people do. They make one choice and another choice. Every person who has an opportunity to have an office affair, and everybody has that opportunity today, if they make that choice, and I know people made this choice. Let's say make different. If they make the choice not to, it's not because they want to suffer. It's because they decide that their marriage is a greater pleasure. And I spoke to people who I think made the wrong decision. And they lost their marriage. And I said, what were you thinking? You know what they said to me? I wasn't. I just took the next thing that come along, because people don't think. Because if people really thought what they want to do, would anybody play solitaire on the computer? Okay, you don't have to shuffle the cards and you can change the backs. You know what I mean? But you ever see someone, is there anything more tedious and boring than just, and you see people doing this, and they get stuck. Like, hi, your best friend came to visit. Hi. We're going out for dinner. Uh-huh. The house is on fire. Uh-huh. And they just keep playing, because at the end they get to watch the cards cascade. And you have no life if you watch all the cards cascade. Want to play again? I didn't want to play the first time. So why did you? I don't know. It was easy. I sit down on the computer. It's easier to do that than to write the great American novel. People live the life that happens. It says in Mesilas Yesharim, look over all the pleasures that are in this world and you'll find one thing. The greatest pleasure is an infinite pleasure. A pleasure that gets better and better and better and better. We have no idea what that means. Because what's a pleasure to us? Pretzels. Now, how many pretzels can a person eat when it's still enjoyable? 3, maybe 4. Then your teeth get covered with chewed up pretzel gunk, and everything you eat tastes like nothing, and people push them away and pull them back, and they keep thinking they'll taste better, and they never do. So sad. Don't even get me started on popcorn. But anyway, Now imagine a bag of pretzels that never ran out and you lived forever and you never got full and your teeth never got covered with pretzel gunk and each one tastes better than the one before. That's called an infinite pleasure. And in Judaism we say it comes from only one place, the infinite source, which is God. That's the only thing. That's all Judaism has to offer. A person said to me, where's all the pleasure in Judaism? I said, it comes from this infinite pleasure. He says, but I don't know if I believe in God. I said, then I have nothing to offer you. You like gefilte fish? Eat a piece of gefilte fish. You know, you want to dance the horror, you know. But I have nothing else to offer. All we have to offer is spirituality. I was on a plane, an El Al flight, sitting next to a middle-aged Israeli businessman who was on his way to India to join his wife in the ashram, where they were studying, you know, Buddhism and meditation. So I said to him, why are you going to India? So he says, because you reach a point in your life where you want something more, you want spirituality, you want meaning. I said, did you ever consider Judaism? He laughed at me. So what does Judaism got to do with spirituality? Judaism is about doing mitzvahs. Now you eat a matzah, now you shake a lulav, now you play with a dreidel, and you just do thing after thing after thing. It doesn't have any meaning, no spirituality. This Jewish guy was doing a documentary on the Dalai Lama. And if you're really close to the Dalai Lama, he gives you your own mantra to focus on. And then he wouldn't give him one. And he kept saying, Dalai Lama, why won't you give me a mantra? So he says, you're Jewish, aren't you? He says, yeah. He says, you already have a mantra. He says, no, I don't. He says, they never taught it to you? Usually Jews know this. He says, no. He says, okay, clear your mind. Assume the position. You know, the guy had studied meditation. And the Dalai Lama says to him, repeat after me, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. You sure you never heard this? He said, sure, I heard it, but no one ever told me that the purpose of prayer is that I'm going to reach this level of meditation and lift myself out of the world. No one ever told me that, but it's a Gemara in Brachos. The Talmud says it. It says they used to spend an hour before prayer, an hour in prayer, and an hour after prayer coming down from the experience. They had lifted themselves so up out of this world. Why do we keep kosher? I hear this answer all the time. It's for health and hygiene. I tell people, you're obviously eating in different kosher restaurants than I am. Because the ones that I go to, there's a lot of stuff going on, but it ain't health and hygiene. Yeah? Why do we eat it? The Talmud says. Because God told us that if you eat these foods, it will make you more receptive to spirituality. And if you don't, you won't. It opens you up. Just like there's certain diets that are high energy, certain ones that are good for your brain. This is good for spirituality. That's the only reason. There's energy in food, some of it is positive, some of it negative. That's the only reason we keep kosher. Why do we keep Shabbos? Because the Torah tells us every 7 days, God brings this wave of holiness over the world. And there are people who go through the motions and never sense it. And I'll tell you why. Because they don't even know. They maybe never turned on the radio, or if they did, they left the room, or they don't know what the music is. Because they never experienced a real Shabbos. One that is supposed to be me being able to connect with God in a spiritual way and lift myself up out of the world. That's the only reason we keep it. And it's got to be. And all the laws are just there to cut out the static and to tune in and to help me focus. Because we live in a very noisy world. Our phones are always beeping, and our email is always beeping, and the microwave is always beeping, and everything is beeping, and everything's going. Where can you get away from it? I go to the airport, they have TVs everywhere. Now when you drive, they have TVs, screens out on the building so you can watch TV as you smash into the person in front of you, which I think is a really brilliant idea. But if they don't have one of those, you can get a TV right in your dashboard, and you can watch TV as you're driving and texting. You know what I mean? Like, you know, where's a chance for you to stop and think and to be able to get off of this craziness? And comes Shabbos, we don't cook, and we don't shop, and we don't drive. All those things, we turn everything off. And we just focus on us and moving ourselves out of spirituality. Now, I'll tell you the danger with laws, any kind of rules, especially in a relationship. Yeah? When you get married, you'll find out there is rules, mitzvahs. Mitzvahs means commandments. There's rules in a relationship. Thou shalt not forget thy wife's birthday upon pain of death. Okay, that's one most men have to actually suffer to be able to figure that one out. So it's his wife's birthday, and the guy comes home with a dozen long stem roses. And he says, these are for you. And she says, oh, that's so nice. And he says, it's your birthday, I have to, right? I forgot last year. I didn't hear the end of it for a month. You want me to put it in water? Or you know what? I'll put it in water. Puts the, what? Says, okay, can I go now? What a beautiful moment. Now, everybody knows this. There's a lot of differences between guys and girls. But one of them is when it comes to gifts. Guys love a practical gift. Buy him a drill. He'll right away start drilling holes in the wall. He's thrilled. Buy him an extension ladder. He'll climb onto the wall. Guys, buy him a shawarma. He'll eat it right in front of you. You know what I mean? He's thrilled. What else does he want? Girls like stuff that doesn't do anything for you. Scented candles and little glass figurines and stuff. Trust me, this doesn't work with a guy. Hey, Bob, I got you a unicorn. Oh, great, I'll put it right next to my scented candle on my whatnot shelf. They don't want it. They want something practical. Why? Because girls have this thing that guys are not completely familiar with. It's called emotion. And they see the gift as an expression of the commitment and the relationship. Every mall has at least one store filled with stuff that no guy wants and a girl would consider a meaningful gift. And a guy figures it out after a while, because you buy your wife a blender, she'll stick your hand in it. You know what I mean? She's not interested. She wants something that serves no purpose. Why? Because it's an expression of the relationship. If God's infinite, make no mistake, he doesn't need you to do a mitzvah. What is it? He needs you to eat a matzah? He gets a thrill out of hearing the crunch? You know what I mean? Grabs together all of the angels. Look, there's one over there. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Oh, look, there's another one. Crunch. I love this time of year. He doesn't need you to eat matzah. From his point of view, it doesn't make a difference. But every mitzvah has this ability to bring us closer to God and then get this unbelievable experience, this infinite experience. I had a friend of mine who flew to London. And he was flying. The sun was shining. The sky was blue. And he went beneath the clouds. He was there for a week and he didn't see the sun. You can imagine this, if you've been to London. For a whole week he didn't see the sun. Yeah. At the end of the week he gets in a plane, he gets above the clouds, and suddenly the sky is blue and the sun is shining. And I said to him, the sky was always blue and the sun was always shining, you just didn't know how to get above the clouds. And the purpose of all the mitzvahs, the purpose of all of Judaism is for one purpose, to get us above the clouds, to give us what the Mesilas Yesharim calls that light. And that's what Shabbos is all about. We start by lighting candles. That's how we start it. It's a time when there's supposed to be light. It's a time when we're supposed to be moving out of this world into something greater. Yeah? This world is represented by the number 6, three-dimensional, 4 directions up and down. The point in the middle that brings it all together, that's 7. That's Shabbos. Shabbos gives you a whole week meaning. It gives you a whole life meaning. It's supposed to be a process where every week I turn around and I stop and I say, how was this week? Everything that I've done for 6 weeks, that's what it says. You'll work for 6 days, and on the 7th day you'll enjoy everything that you earned and everything that you worked for. My friends, this is a very special opportunity. A very special opportunity. I came here the first time in 1969, January 1969, a year and a half after the Six-Day War with my parents. And we went out on a religious tour. And we were coming up the small little road to Jerusalem. And we stop. And he pulls over to the side of the road. And he says to us, Jews do not ride into Jerusalem, they walk. We all got off the bus and we walked into Jerusalem past this little planting of flowers that said, Bruchim Habaim, welcome to Jerusalem. That was in 1969, and I remember that moment every single time I drive back to Yerushalayim, I come back to Jerusalem. Every time I come here, I say there's something very special. A Shabbos in Yerushalayim, a Shabbos in the Old City. For our great-great-grandparents, this was a dream. Who could imagine you sitting here looking over the Temple Mount, that you can go there, where Jews had a tiny little place where they would be able to stand and have garbage thrown on them, and all kinds of danger. And you can go there and sing and dance and celebrate. It's a whole different experience. It's an opportunity for us to take this Shabbos, this Shabbat, and for us to try to make it something that's so meaningful that doesn't matter if we're in Ontario, California, or North Merrick, Long Island, or Wichita, Kansas, wherever we happen to be, if we have a synagogue, we don't have a synagogue, we can sit down and tap into this unbelievable energy. We can connect to God and get this spirituality that's just surrounding us. We just have to listen to it. We just have to bring it into our lives and lift ourselves up. We Jews have been accused of a lot of stuff. We kill Christian children to bake our matzah. We killed their God. We're capitalists. We're communists. All kinds of stuff. The one thing they never said about us is that we're stupid. And if we're still around for 3,300 years, it's because we had something that was really very special, that the whole world used to look at us and say, you know this, the famous Dutch painters, Rembrandt and his school, they painted a lot of pictures of Jews because they said, when you looked at a Jew, you saw nobility. There was something that we had that the world looked at us and said, I don't know what it is, but they have something special. That's what it is. It's this connection to infinity. And if we can get that, we have 24 hours where we're able to lift ourselves up out of this world and live in that light. And that's why at the end of it, we light the Havdalah candle. We have to bring the light back in. We live in this light, and then we go out back into our regular life the next week, inspired and with the ability to now tap into the energy that's around us. Please God, this Shabbos will be a beautiful one for everybody. Thanks everyone for coming.